make sure that you get one with really good flash on it. The silver, round, shiny. See, those leaves are pretty. Those leaves are perfect. Hoya lovers! We are back for another Hoya video. My name is Stephanie and I love houseplants, especially Hoya. In today's video, we are doing a Hoya collection tour. Not just a show you my plant type of video, but we're gonna walk and talk a little bit, like a Gilmore Girls style. Well, not as fast. We're gonna jump to different stations, different places that my Hoya are held, so that you can not just see a pretty plant, but you can see the conditions that my plants are growing in. You're gonna see how much light they get, what kind of light they get, what kind of pot they're in. You're gonna get all the details. So if you love Hoya, give the video a thumbs up so I know you're here. If you're here just because you like supporting my channel, you're a rock star. Thank you for being here. We're sitting down a section of my plant collection that you tend to see in the back of my videos sometimes. I like to group my Hoya together because they need very similar light conditions. This wasn't always a Hoya shelf. Recently, I shifted my Hoya around, but my plants have always been under the exact same lights. So anyways, in this little section here, I have my Sansi grow lights. They're facing downwards. Let's just start with the plant in the front. This is one you've seen recently. If you saw my recent plant video about if I had to lose all my plants, which plants would I restart my collection with? This is my Hoya Heuchkeliana. I started growing the Heuchkeliana, I would say a year ago. So a lot of my plants, in case you've never seen my 30 Days of Hoya series, Hoya that is, I started growing them in about January of 2024. So a lot of my Hoya are around the same age. Started growing this Heuchkeliana, I would say maybe in June, and I've had so many because Heuchkeliana are quite tricky and it took me a long time to figure it out, to not lose them within the first couple of weeks. It's been a tough time with the Heuchkeliana. This one is growing in Molly's aeroid mix and a little bit of my own homemade mix and in a self-watering pot. I find they need to be blasted with light and their roots are very delicate and very susceptible to rot. My goal one day is to hopefully have a bigger version. I want to either learn how to propagate this plant well or buy another plant and put it back in. I'm leaning toward the former. The next Hoya on the shelf is a repurchase. It's my second time growing this plant, and this is a Hoya compacta inner variegated. So the inner variegated is called the monoloa. This plant it's another very, very tricky Hoya. I feel like it is even harder than the Heuchkeliana, if you ask me. It's a gorgeous plant. A long time I was afraid because I was afraid of pests going into the crevices. And a lot of you convinced me that they're not too bad if you just stay on top of the pest care. Growing in my DIY homemade mix in a self-watering pot. I was super nervous to repot this plant when I first got it. When I got the second one, because the first one just croaked on me from getting overwatered, I left it in the pot it came in. I stuck it in my cabinet that you'll see in a minute, blasted it with light when it pushed out 2 new leaves. After those leaves matured, I felt comfortable to go and repot the plant. Leaving it for about a month to let it acclimate also gave me a chance to see if there were any pests on the plant. So I felt confident to repot, but I did not judge the roots. You know how when we repot, we loosen roots? I left it exactly the shape and the way it was and just popped it in, added substrate around it and shoved it under this Sansi light. I know the compactas have the reputation of being slow. They're right, it is slow. This is my Hoya kentiana, sometimes called Wietii. I honestly do not know the difference between these two plants, but this plant has been in my care. I think this month will be a year. I think I got it in summertime-ish last year, and I had a bigger version of this plant. If you're new here, you might not know the story. Half the plant just croaked on me. If it's one thing, I talked about this in my self-watering pot video, especially with when you have plants in an organic mix. Speaking of organic mix, it's in Molly's arid mix. Never top water, always bottom water when you have plants in self-watering pots, because when you top water, it just makes the plant too wet, versus at the bottom, the plant is in control of how wet the substrate is because the plant is wicking up as it needs it instead of us waterlogging it from the top. The reservoir gets scuzzy quickly because it's under a highly lit situation. But anyways, that's this guy. If you have one, give it the highest light possible. Beautiful inner variegation. I love the backs of the leaves especially. It's just such a good looking plant. Okay, so the next plant we will talk about, Hoya linearis. Can you imagine? I am an owner of a teeny tiny Hoya linearis. Probably should wash it off before I show you. I've washed it. Yes, where were we? This is my Hoya linearis, one of the newest Hoya, if not the newest Hoya to enter into my collection. Shopped around a little bit. It's not a common plant to find in my area. Found it on Facebook Marketplace. I think I bought it for $15 and it looked a lot better when I got it. I got it in like a little nursery pot. It seems like it had just rooted and she sold it off to me. So it wasn't established and I let it sit in there for about a month and I felt like it didn't do anything for the month, even if I had it growing under grow lights. I decided, you know what? I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to unpot it, see what's happening in the roots. The roots were fine, a slow growing Hoya. In the beginning, every single person who I've heard talk about this plant, talk about how fast the linearis grows. So again, true to Hoya fashion, it could just be that it's just trying to establish itself and then it's gonna take off. I repotted it, put it into my DIY mix, put it in self-watering, slammed it under here. Not literally slammed it, but gently and nicely placed it under here. And I can see a little bit of new growth peeking out of places. Like right here on this vine, I can see some new growth emerging. I can see some new growth coming in at the tips. And what's a great sign is not just that it's pushing out new growth, but the growth is hanging on. I don't think this Hoya needs a lot of light, but because I just repotted it, I need to blast it with light in order for it to get established and then do its thing. The next one that I will share with you is one that I have two of. So you're gonna see one here and then you're gonna see one on my other shelf. This is my first Hoya compacta that I ever got. When I got this, I repotted it a little bit after I got it. It had 3 plants in it and I lost an entire plant. So the third one was here. A plant that I'm still trying to figure out. I don't think the compacta is a difficult variety. Just like with every Hoya, I think it just takes a little bit of time to figure them out. So it's in a self-watering pot in my DIY mix, in a chunky mix. This stump right here where it had a bunch of leaves and all the leaves fell off, it's starting to push new growth. So I have 4 growth points on that little stump trying to make their way. So I think we're getting somewhere. I think it's finally getting established in its roots. And I think we're finally moving forward. And here's another new Hoya. Now this Hoya you've never seen. This is a Hoya piestolepis. This plant, I think I want to start trying new Hoya in my collection. She had it selling, I think for $5 or $7. So I thought, okay, sure, let me give it a try. It has pubescent leaves, but it's not as soft as some of the other Hoya. You can just see the little hairs and you can feel it just ever so slightly when you touch it, but it's not soft, like pillow soft like some of the other Hoya. It's just added texture. And it has these super dark leaves. Ooh, it's pushing out a new growth. How exciting. She warned me that this is an extremely slow growing Hoya. So I am surprised that it even has a new growth. Anyways, it's in my DIY mix in self-watering. Again, another Hoya. I don't think it needs all of this light, but because I repotted it recently, I want to put it in the bright light so that it can have the best conditions and it can grow well. They say it's a Hoya lacunosa inner variegated, but it was sold to me as Bruno. Anyways, let's just call it the lacunosa inner variegated. Everyone says that there's such a distinct difference between the two. I just can't see it. I've watched a bunch of videos. I can't see the difference, but maybe my eye is not trained enough as yet. It's so beautiful. It's the same type of idea as the Hoya australis, where it has this very painted watercolor look to it. It is absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful, beautiful plant. I got it in June of last year, so it's been a little bit over a year, 13 months since I've had it. It's growing in semi-hydro. I have it in pond. This is my homemade pond, and I recently repotted it into this self-watering pot. When I repotted it, it started pushing out a bunch of peduncles. And I think it just finished blooming, I think a week ago. Maybe I shared it on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, that's where I put pictures of my plants, especially Hoya blooms when they come out and they're nice and fresh and new. It's growing really well. This is another Hoya that needs high amount of light in order to handle all of the variegation. If not, it's going to grow slowly for you and it's going to get overwatered quite easily. Anyways, that's this guy. Right, the row underneath the top one, it's being lit by a Barina light here. It's the Barina T5s, the newer ones. I think it's the newer ones. And I just have it sitting on the shelf. It's lighting up the Hoya down below. This is my Hoya walliniana, not variegated. We all know that Stephanie cannot grow the inner variegated walliniana, like that's common knowledge. I'm always one for variegated plants. I always lean toward the variegation before I get the all green. This was a gifted cutting from Monica. She's someone in my neighborhood who I buy a lot of my plants from. She sells on Facebook Marketplace. But sometimes the leaves just have this satin-like look to them. And I think right now, because these are getting a little sun stressed, they don't have that nice, beautiful sheen that I love about this plant. That's okay. I just want to get a nice, big, lush, full version of this. The next plant is one that's been a little bit tricky for me, and this is the Hoya polyneura. I've had the brocade before, I've had the inner variegated before, and I just feel like the Hoya polyneura is quite a tricky one. This one is the inner variegated. When I got it a couple months ago, I would say maybe 3-4 months ago, but I had a brocade, I lost it completely. I just find them a little bit tricky. Their roots are super sensitive. They get over and underwatered quite easily. And I know people say they grow like weeds. This one hasn't been growing like a weed for me. It's been, you know, a little bit on the slower growing side. It was already in semi-hydro. It was in leca when I got it. So I put it in my homemade pond when I brought it home. We have a good sign in that roots are starting to come out of the reservoir. So that's a good indication that it's getting happier. The next plant is another one that's new to me. It's the Hoya carnosa argentea princess. There we go. It's the Hoya gray ghost, but with an inner variegation. I've heard that this is very slow growing and it reverts very easily. That's the two things I've heard about it. And so far, the slow growing part has been true. It looks like it's trying to push out a new leaf, but it's taking its cool time to do that. It's in a self-watering pot in my DIY mix. I kept it just isolated for at least 2 months. And then when I was sure that there was no pests on it, after repeated pest treatments, I decided to put it in my homemade mix and introduce it officially into my collection. So yeah, that's it. Nothing more to share. These are, for some reason, these are some of the newer Hoya, like Hoya to join my collection this year. I'm just noticing a pattern here. This was sold to me as a Hoya caudata gold. I don't know what gold is supposed to mean. I'm not sure if gold refers to the blooms or anything along those lines. But again, I got this off of Facebook Marketplace. Yes, and the plant you saw before this, I got it from Jenna's Plants. This one's from Facebook. It's growing in my DIY pond. It was actually growing in soil when I first got it, and I left it in soil for a little while until I was just like, you know what? Who am I kidding? I hate growing Hoya in soil. So I repotted it and I put it in this mix, and finally we have some roots coming out from the bottom here, gladly. So that's an excellent sign. I just hope it doesn't become root bound before it even pushes out any new leaves. In my care, it's pushed out, I think, 1 leaf. That's this guy here. So I have a feeling it's going to be one of those Hoya that vines and vines and vines and then pushes out new leaves. I do want to curve this down, but I want to wait until this is long enough so that I can curve it so it continues to point back up again. I know people say that Hoya vines like to be pointed upward or else they will dry up on the ends. I do say that's true to an extent. Not all of my Hoya behave this way. Hoya like this with not a whole bunch of leaves, I'm not gonna test that theory on this Hoya. So the last guy on the shelf is one that needs a trellis. and probably needs a refresh of water. But this was recently repotted. A lot of my Hoya got upsized recently. This is my Hoya Snoquy Silver. It is a beautiful, beautiful Hoya. Love the minty look of the leaves. It has this splashing on it. Variegation is almost reversed. The leaves are minty and then you get a little bit of the green splashing on it. It's a really lovely Hoya. And this is the newest cutting I added in. This plant is in desperate need of a trellis. It's quite a fast grower. It has tried to bloom for me, but it dropped the peduncle. I have it sitting on the shelf here and I wrap that long vine you saw. I wrap it to grow upwards. This plant is definitely one of the ones that will stop growing if it doesn't feel support. So I like to always have this angled upwards so that it can continue growing. All right, we're in another section of my plant room. So we were just down there along that wall. So we've just moved along the wall and now we're on to another Hoya shelf, another section where I keep a lot of my Hoya. They're being lit by Sansi grow lights, you know, the gooseneck type lights that I just point into the direction. The first plant that's on the top shelf here, Hoya Silver Lady. When I first started collecting Hoya, this was such a very popular one. I got it from Jenna's Plants and I think I just got it because it was so many people's favorites and I thought, okay, let me give this plant a try. Let me see if I can enjoy growing it as well. The leaves wrinkle very easily and they don't plump back up. This used to be a lot longer. It is very easy to propagate, I'll give it that, because it does have those woody stems. And I just stuck a bunch of plants back in here. So 1, 2, it might have 5 plants in here. And in here we can see some new growth coming in on the little plants that I stuck in here, the stems. I do think I would prefer growing this plant in semi-hydro, but for now it's in my homemade chunky mix. I wouldn't even consider changing its substrate. I'm just going to leave it. The next plant in the back is a plant that I'm finally going to water now that I've pulled it out of the back here. Let's see, let's take a look at the rest. Please don't be gross. Okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. A Hoya that I really love, Silver Dollar. And it was one of the first Hoya that I absolutely fell in love with. As you can tell, I really love minty leaves and variegation. I absolutely love that about this plant. I love how big some of the leaves can get. This leaf is massive. And what I love about Hoya, they don't drop mature leaves easily, at least this type of Hoya. But look at the size of that leaf. It is beautiful. Like the same idea with silver or minty leaves, I should say, with a reverse variegation where you have little splashes of dark green. I know you can see like some random looking scars on mine. This is from whenever I move it, this plant gets scarred so easily. I know some people sun stress this plant. Mine just gets burnt whenever I try to sun stress it. I know a lot of people have said to me that it's not just a matter of blasting it with grow lights. There's an element to the light that the plant needs to be able to sun stress. It's growing in my chunky homemade mix. I recently repotted it. It's definitely not the fastest growing Hoya. The next plant over here in the back, this is my Hoya Nova Ghost. Plant does not lose leaves easily, so when you see a leaf falling off, it makes you wonder. But this is a Hoya Nova Ghost. It's one of the earlier ones to enter my collection. My oldest Hoya have been from Jenna's Plants. And when I got into Hoya, because she had such a big collection, I just bought a bunch of cuttings off of her. This is one of them. So I've had this plant for over a year now, about a year and a half. It is a pretty solid Hoya. It's a nice plant. It's sort of this understated beauty. I don't talk about it a whole lot. I sort of just leave it in a corner and let it do its thing. It's really fast growing, easy to grow once you get it established and it's rooted up. It's really beautiful. Again, another one of these, the reversed look where the base of the leaf is like this minty look and then the green variegation is what the splashy part is. It had thrips at one point, just a couple here and there, and I wouldn't be surprised if it had flat mites. I do sometimes see scarring on it. Like if you look on the back, the front of the leaves look fine, but the back of the leaves look like something's happening. It's getting a little too much light. I'm probably going to spray it before I return it to its spot. But I think this is light related because this plant doesn't need a lot of light. So I probably am going to pull this grow light back. If you can see, I'm just gonna lean it backwards a little bit. On the next row, I have a Hoya that I complain about very often, and I didn't realize that I had so many of this Hoya until I was filming a hard Hoya video. And then I realized that I have I think I have either 3 or 4 of this plant. Hoya krohniana super silver, the one that I have growing in pond. This one is in semi-hydro because I have the objective to see which substrate is best for this plant. And this is the newest bunch of propagations that I potted up. So this one will always be the smallest. So far, it has lost the least leaves. We'll see how it continues to grow. Here's one of my troublesome Hoya. We're not gonna linger because we're gonna keep this video positive. No negativity here. This is my Hoya Rebecca. At least what's left on it of it. The main plant has decided to rot. Most difficult Hoya. I talked about it recently in my hard Hoya video. Another Hoya from the hard Hoya video. So it's funny, they're both growing together. It's a pretty little thing, feathery looking leaves. They're super light. I find the leaves look like regular plant leaves a little bit, except not in shape, but just in the way they feel. It's a pest magnet. Spider mites love this plant, and thrips do love this plant quite a bit. Keep treating it regularly and I think you'll be fine. This one's growing in DIY pond, and I recently repotted this plant, and look at where we are now. It's such a heavy rooter. The next row being lit up by the Sansi lights, so the third one down here. One is attached, so I'm gonna have to show you that one in the form of B-roll. Hoya gunung gading. I find the leaves on my gunung gading, like, they break easily. Not when I say break, they get damaged easily. I love the veins of it. It has these really pretty dark veins. I especially love it when they sun stress. This plant is such a beautiful sun stressor, but it's hard to achieve. All depends on the light, the kind of light that you give it. So I have not perfected that as yet. It's a very easy rooter, yeah, because it has that woody Hoya-like stem. And the next plant on this shelf is my Hoya thomsonii, is that it? And it has a little bit of splash. That's what I was looking at, the splash that's on it. This one was a gift from Jenna. We did a little bit of a plant trade and she threw this one in. Had it growing, or rooting I should say, in water for the longest while. Less than a month ago, I decided to finally pot it up in my DIY pond and pop it under the Sansi lights. It's a pubescent Hoya, fuzzy little leaves on them. It's very popular. I know a lot of people love this Hoya. I never sought after it for some reason, but I'm happy to have it and give it a try. This is another one of my Hoya compacta outer variegated. When I noticed my first one declining, I immediately went out and got another one. I actually originally thought I was going to put this in semi-hydro, but I didn't have the guts to do it. So I just put it in my chunky homemade mix, and it is doing well. Pushed out a couple leaves since I've had it, but I've also lost a couple leaves. Yeah, so I don't think we're completely out of the woods yet, but I think we're getting there. The Hoya Bella can be a tricky Hoya. For some reason, the Hoya Bella variegated, the Lida buoy, and the Hoya Bella, I think this is the Aneki buoy. This is the outer variegated, this is the inner variegated. I just decided to put them both in the same pot. Hoya Bella can sometimes be a little bit sparse when they're juvenile, so I decided to just put them both together just to make it fuller. I do wish they would sort of mingle. The variegated ones are easier than the non-variegated ones for me. The all green right now, it's fighting for its life. And underneath that, ooh, this guy needs some water. We got some roots popping out the bottom. This is my Hoya Wilbur Graves. For argument's sake, we'll call this a Wilbur Graves Russia. But in my heart, I believe there is little difference between the Russia and the China. It was reverting on me quite a bit. It does revert way more than the one that's labeled as China in my collection, but they look very similar, if not identical. But I have them in 2 separate rooms so that I don't confuse them. I chopped it up quite a bit, just stuck it back inside, stuck the vines back in, and we're getting some growth. Some leaves are very splashy and some leaves have absolutely nothing. Even over here, we have like lots and lots of splash over here and then not a whole lot over here. It tends to do that a lot versus the Wilbur Graves China. It doesn't behave this way. The next plant is our second duplicate. This is another one that I have multiples of because it can be tricky. Coriacea silver. This one, I love this Hoya, but it's being difficult. It's been very difficult. It is a pest magnet. The thrips love it, the spider mites love it, everything loves it. But I do love this Hoya. It's a beautiful Hoya. Again, the silver variegation with the dark green splashing inside is beautiful. It is a very easy Hoya to root, to propagate. But it's a very rooty Hoya. Like, look at all of these roots for a couple leaves at the top. So funny. It's not that it constantly needs to be repotted, because you don't have to repot it. It's outgrowing the pot down below very quickly. And it loves a trellis. It needs support in order to keep growing. When it doesn't have support, it will slow down in its growth or just push runners. The last one on this bottom row, this is my Hoya Patricia. I've had for just about a year. This one is such a prolific bloomer, and it could be because I got it as a mature plant. I got this from Crystal Star Nursery, and the Hoya you saw before that I got from Genus Plants. This plant, very easy to grow. It's amazing. I showed you so many times the blooms of this plant. When I bought it, there were already a bunch of peduncles on it, but it just kept pushing more and more and more peduncles. An extremely thirsty Hoya, so you may want to put it in self-watering if you have one. And what I like about this one, at first I didn't appreciate it, like a big version of the Rebecca, like a Rebecca but the opposite. Bigger leaves, easier to grow, blooms often, grows really fast. The complete opposite of a Rebecca in all the good ways. So that's it for this corner. It seems super dark, but I promise it's daytime. I'm not filming at night. This is my Hoya Vietnam. I'm so in love with this Hoya. Look at this leaf, or maybe I'm just in love with this leaf. I don't know. Beautiful, glossy, beautiful splashing on it. So pretty. I have it climbing up. Oh no, I'm gonna lose this leaf here, it seems. Yeah, there we go. Oh, leaf fell off. That's too bad. I think it's pretty root bound. I think it's ready to be repotted, but I've just not that I've not gotten to it, but I don't like removing it from this location. So again, it's climbing up here. I like that about this setup. I want to sort of chop it and make it into a fuller plant. I don't want to disturb it. I just like how it's growing. I just find it's really fun. And it's pushing out 2 new leaves at the top here, and it's just going and going and going. Eventually I will make the change, but not yet. So here's an angle that you don't get to see very often, because I'm typically filming facing the window to get the natural light. We're just gonna quickly check out the plants that are here. So again, I have a pressure rod here, and I have a bunch of my Hoya on the 2 pressure rods. So this is one of the 2. And so right here I have my Hoya Viola. You haven't seen her in a little while. The last time was in my 30 days of Hoya video. I think she needs a trellis. She stopped growing for me, and I could see she has gone down and is starting to go back up again. Like she's trying to point back upwards. So I can tell she's reaching for something. Sometimes her vines are starting to dry off, and she's decided to push growth from inside, actually. Yeah, so if you look here, I think I nipped a leaf at one point, but it's starting to push new growth from inside the plant right here. She needs a trellis. I have to get that sorted out for her, but yeah, she's in self-watering in my homemade mix, and that's it. She lives right behind me. This is a west window. The leaves look very pillowy. I love that. It's light green. Originally I thought this was supposed to be a darker green Hoya, but turns out it's lighter green, especially because I have it in direct sunlight, and I'm not mad. I'm starting to love it. The next Hoya is one that blooms for me like crazy. You've seen this Hoya before. This is my Hoya Rangsan. This is a plant that originally would not grow for me. My second attempt at growing this plant, and it just went crazy. Pushed a bunch of peduncles, just bloomed like it was about to, you know, croak on me. When it was done blooming, it just started pushing out more vines and new leaves. So yeah, if you were wondering about my crazy peduncle pushing Rangsan, she is still here, doing her thing, living in the west window, behaving. I'm so glad. It's growing mostly in perlite. One of my very few Hoya growing in perlite, but she's a slow grower. And she's one of those Hoya where you need to change the water before it dries out. So when the water starts to look a bit grimy, when it just looks, when it doesn't look like fresh water anymore. Talking about the leaves, it's like the latifolia crossed with something. It has a lot of splashing to the leaves. It has raised veins. It's a pretty Hoya. I enjoy looking at it. I just wish it would grow bigger for me. But that's okay. I think the constant blooming is fun. I recently repotted it, and in the repot, I snapped the vine here. So ideally, I want this vine to try to hang in there, but I don't know if it will. Hoya australis Lisa, I'm gonna have to zoom you in because she's attached up top and I don't want to detach her. I recently featured her in a video about all the houseplants that I would get if I had to restart my collection. She's lovely. Those painted leaves, absolutely gorgeous. I just put her onto this tray leaf trellis. Love the trellis. She's looking happy on here. I wish, like I've said before, I wish I had her on this trellis earlier, because then all of these leaves would be facing forward, but that's okay. Lesson learned. I need to trellis my plants sooner. I have this all green part that I'm not so excited about. I think it's responding to the repot. Oh man, we're losing lots of leaves. It's a tricky Hoya when you've messed with it. Change the watering, change anything about it, it can be quite tricky. So I do think she's retaliating, and I need to make sure that I keep this water nice and fresh for her. I may even need to put it under a grow light for her to sort of recover from the repot and then put her back into this window. But because it's summertime, I'm hoping that she can hang in there in the window, because she's getting like good west light over here. So I'm just like, hang in there, girl, don't get dramatic. I'm gonna stay optimistic. And then here is one of probably the most underwhelming Hoya in my entire collection. I think this was sold to me as a Wilburgiae. I think right now it's a verticillata. Can't remember what it's classified at right now. It was gifted to me or something like that, gift with a purchase. It did nothing for a very long time, but it finally started pushing out this leaf. It lives in my DIY mix. It looks like it's trying to push out some new growth here. We have a little bit of something happening, but it's a plant that I don't let it bother me, and I try not to bother it. It wants to grow slowly and not do a whole lot. That's fine, but it's just at the top here in my west window. This guy over here, let's see, should I try to take this down? This is where it lives. Actually, I'm just gonna show it to you just like this. My Hoya Mathilde, all green. I'm sorry if this is so backlit. If you can't see it well, I will actually insert some B-roll. She is living in self-watering in this coconut shell. These shells are actually from Barbados. And so I just thought it would be super cute to grow some of my plants in a cocoa shell. I wish you guys could see it more often, but when I'm filming, I'm staring at my cute cocoa shells. But anyways, the Mathilde, these coin-like dark leaves, and I'm happy and surprised that she can keep the darkness even despite being in such highlight. Pushing a bunch of peduncles right now, which is not surprising because I know a lot of people are saying their Mathildes are blooming at the moment. No blooms yet, just peduncles. So we'll see what happens. On the windowsill, my Hoya sigillatus, is it pubescent? Yes, it's slightly pubescent, mostly on the undersides. It's very soft and it has purple undersides. This is actually a tricky Hoya to grow. Sometimes it grows really well, and then other times it's just really fussy. It drops new leaves quickly. It seems to grow better in direct sunlight. Next, over here on the shelf facing west is my Hoya Weymanier. Remember, not a cloudy sky, just a Weymanier. That's where it grows. I spoke about this plant recently in my hard Hoya video. It grows, as you can see, in the west window. It's pushing out a bunch of tendrils. It's super cute. It's still happy, doing really well. The leaves are light green, but I have a feeling if I had it in a lower light situation, the leaves would be more of like a darker green color, which I think I prefer a little more. Like this one. I think not that much darker, but it's just a little bit darker. I think I've had it even darker than this. But as you can see, just right here, it's super light. The new leaf has this beautiful purple sun stressing here. Growing so well, trying to poke me in the eye. but it's doing so well. I'm so proud of it. Right here in the windowsill, vines like crazy. Obovata. I'm not sure if you remember my How to Grow Your Hoya Faster video. I featured this plant and I think I released that video, I think in March or February of this year. It was just this long, maybe. Right here was the long, like where it ended, right here. And then since then it's pushed out a bunch more leaves and it is super splashy. I'm actually surprised. I did not think that this plant would push out this much splash for me. So beautiful. But it has one peduncle right here, this guy here, if you can see it, and another one in the back here. Another peduncle. Hasn't done anything with those peduncles, surprisingly. I have a feeling that the plant wants to be put on a trellis. I'm trying to lean it against something in there. This is what it looks like. See, they get direct sunlight over here. And then up here, I have reverted Hoya Snow Queen. I got these reverted leaves from Jenna. It needs to be repotted. It's so dry. I just have not prioritized it. I've just been giving the pots to other plants that I'm more excited about. But man, it has these massive leaves pushing out tendrils. It's trying to get something to climb on. So I'm trying to support it as much as possible. But it is so hard to water it because in this window it's getting so much light and it's so thirsty. But anyways, that's this guy. These are all of my Hoya Wilbur Graves cuttings that were all green. I just took them, all cut them. Every time I cut them, I put a couple in here and they are, yeah, they are like sort of like I don't like calling them the rejects, but they're just the green bits, and it's honestly doing so much better than the splashy plants. Remember I showed you some time ago that it's pushing out a peduncle? The peduncle is still there. It's looking so good, but again, it's trying to find something to reach, to climb up. So I'm just gonna wrap it up in here. Yeah. All right. So this is my next setup with some of my Hoya. This is just an IKEA cabinet. Any Hoya that I feel like needs extra humidity, I put in here. But recently the humidity has been getting too high in here. So I leave the door open. I have some cuttings of my Hoya Crassipetiolata Splash. This is the plant that I plan on giving gifts from or using it for trades, etc. Remember the Hoya Rime Splash that I showed you in my new plants video, which I didn't even want to show you because I have the worst experience with the Hoya Rime Splash. Yep, this vine only had one leaf on it and I lost the one leaf, but it was fully rooted. So I'm hoping that a new leaf will pop out of this at some point, or a new growth point. We will see, because growing Hoya from a wet stick is very difficult. This is the only leaf that I have, no new growth coming out, but it is firm. So that's a good sign. It's healthy. Here is my Hoya Matilde Splash. I have restarted this plant so many times. I had a nice, big, beautiful version of this plant at one time. Started giving me trouble and then it's never fully bounced back since then. I've reported, like I said, I've reported this so many times, and the vines are a little bit pubescent. There are tiny, tiny hairs on the vines, and I find pests adhere to these tiny bits so much faster. I find thrips love this plant very much. Anyways, I'm gonna keep trying because I really do love this. It's tricky, super duper tricky. And I'm still trying to perfect the light. Sometimes I can't tell if it prefers the Sansi or the Barinas. So it's sort of a hit and miss with this one. All green bits of my Hoya Heuchkeliana. So this is just Hoya Heuchkeliana green. So if you notice on my mature plant, there were some green vines. I chopped them up and put them in here. And yeah, the all green vines grow way faster and easier than the variegated ones. The next plant, this guy needs some water. I need to, oh no, it's actually, there is water in here. This is my Hoya Joy Splash, a Hoya that I absolutely adore. It all started off from this one leaf here. Is it that leaf? Yes. It is that leaf, but the leaf just looks, it used to be so big to me. When I first got it, this leaf was massive until I guess it grew all these other leaves, and now it's like, oh, I guess it's not as big as I thought it was. I recently repotted this plant actually. It used to be in Molly's aeroid mix. I've repotted it and put it into my mix. I left it with the Molly's and I just added my mix to the bigger pot. And it is doing so well. Look at this, is the splashiest leaf it has given me in the history of me owning it, because it, yeah, and this is another splashy leaf. I just love the splash, the dark green with the yellowish splash on it. It's so beautiful. But as you can see, it's been giving me just all green leaves. Oh, they're beautiful, don't get me wrong. This is a really new one, that's why it's so light. Just not what I was hoping to get, but I absolutely love it. I really do, especially this one. Oh my goodness, look at that. The glossy, glossy dark look. So pretty. Oh my goodness. And then look at this leaf with the, like if you're gonna get this plant, try to get a generously splashy plant, because as you can see, mine, the first leaf had a lot of splashing, but I have a lot of all green leaves. Just occasionally I'll get some beautiful splashing, and then the other times it's like, huge disappointment. Hoya is the Hoya cystiantha, or the Hoya campanulata, I think this is. Oh my goodness, such a tricky plant. I think these were gifted to me. She gifted me these green bits, Jenna did, but it's so fussy growing here in pond. 1 minute we're great, and another minute we're losing leaves like crazy. I do think it likes this cabinet though, because we're finally getting some new growth on here. So definitely thin-leafed Hoya like higher humidity. I don't want to show propagations, but this is what's left of my all green Bella. The crazy, crazy, crazy. It's just shriveled up. I don't think it'll ever recover. One side recovered, this side recovered, see? But this side is just, doesn't look like it'll make it. Maybe the cuttings are too big. The plant itself is too big. And then my campanulata, again, trying to restart this plant for like the 99th time. I have tried to restart this plant so many times. And the worst part is I bought this. I bought these variegated bits. So it's so annoying that I constantly have to restart this plant. The leaves fall on this plant so easily. But here is a duplicate. We have my Hoya lacunosa silver mint coin. It's a Hoya that I was just obsessed with when this Hoya was at the height of its popularity. Well, not at the height, maybe towards when the height started to die down. That's when I got one. Super easy to propagate and make baby versions of. Sometimes it's super easy, and then sometimes it just, I don't know, you can't figure out what's wrong with it. Just love those coin-like leaves. It's so stunning how glossy they look. So beautiful. Love it. And then as we continue in the cabinet, we have my super sad Hoya krohniana. Super silver. You'd think I just threw this out, but I can see some signs of life. And so I want to give it a chance. It has some baby leaves coming out here. So I think I want to see if I can get this back on its trellis again. All these are new leaves here. It looks so similar to the silver mint coin in my opinion. Such a generous bloomer too. It's a Hoya that has recently been losing a lot of leaves. This is like the 4th leaf that I'm taking off of this plant. It's so weird. Not quite sure what's happening. Don't know if it needs to be repotted. I know there are a lot of roots in here. I clean the res out regularly and refresh the water, but it's just constantly losing leaves at the bottom. And this is a plant that never loses leaves for me. So this is, I think it needs a repot, but I think I'm all out of new pots. This is a Hoya globulosa cow bang. Love this Hoya. It is absolutely stunning. I'm in love with the foliage, the pubescent leaves. The leaves are super fuzzy on the bottom. It's just so gorgeous. The leaves are really dark. Oh, it's gorgeous. As you can see, it has a long vine here. Another Hoya that I think desperately needs a trellis. Without one, it will stop growing for you. Just waiting for this vine to get long enough, and then I will do the loop so it can point upwards again. But yeah, that's this guy. Love it. It's my original Hoya lacunosa silver mint coin. I know it looks so different than the mint coin you just saw. The leaves on this one, I've said this before, they're so big because I think I over fertilized. Finally, it started giving me the normal looking leaves again, which I really love. My goodness, the silver, round, shiny, it is just so beautiful. Absolutely love this plant. It's growing in my homemade DIY pond. Another plant that's very susceptible to pests, so you have to really watch it and make sure that there's nothing on it, because if you find yourself randomly losing leaves, it's likely that you've got some pests in here. Down below, I'll give you some B-roll, but down below I have another Hoya coriacea silver. So I have it growing in here, and it's decided, again, a Hoya that likes to vine. It's grown all the way up in the cabinet, just doing whatever it wants, just going and going. It's very thirsty. I always have to keep the reservoir super high on this because it runs out of water quickly, and again, very prone to pests. Yes, I know, I'm sorry, I'm very backlit, but you can see the plants that are in my south window here. So let's start at the top, a plant you've seen recently, Hoya sp. Afbertoni, or the Hoya DS70. Talked about this Hoya recently, and so there's not a whole lot to say, but just so you know, this is where he lives. He lives up here on the top shelf. I put him at the top because he can cascade down. And this plant, in case you have never seen any of my other videos, it has nice and soft pubescent leaves. So it's a little bit fuzzy at the top. The new leaves get this really adorable pink sun stressing on it. And it has this beautiful inner variegation that I just love. But the variegation is affected by the light. So the more light it gets, the brighter the variegation. The inner yellow will stand out, and the less light will make it more muted. It's in a chunky aroid mix in a self-watering pot. Lives on the top shelf. Oh, the sap and the blooms are falling down. But this is let's see, if I go this way, is it better? No, it doesn't make a difference. This is my Hoya Sunrise. And this is a plant that I wanted two things oh so desperately from it. I wanted it to sun stress and bloom for me. And these two things is what it has done generously for me. Absolutely beautiful. The blooms, I think I finally realized recently what the blooms smell like. And they smell like lilies. The next plant on the next tier is my Hoya crassipetiolata splash. So this is the mother plant. The tiny baby you saw earlier, this is the big mama it came from. Love this plant. The splash on this plant is insane. Be sure to get like a nice splashy version of this plant if you ever want to try to get one. It's just such a fast grower, one of the fastest growing plants in my collection. And one of the things that I never thought I would see this plant do for me is bloom. Oh my goodness, look at this. Look at those blooms. They're just absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful cluster with another one next to it. It's just stunning. And then another bloom in here, right here. It's just beautiful. In self-watering, I think this is my DIY mix. And yeah, it's a very thirsty Hoya. You always want to make sure you're staying on top of it. I'm sorry, I keep going out of the frame, but I'm just like, you're not here to see me. You're here to see the plants. Like, you know what I look like. This is AH074. It has a unique setup with this plant. Sometimes an entire leaf can be silver, and then the green can be sort of like an accent, right? So you have an all silver leaf with a green splash, or sometimes you get an all green leaf with silver flecks on it. How do I describe this plant? So unpredictable. Plant that just doesn't live by the rules. It just lives to the beat of its own plant heart. I don't know. It just does its own thing. It just, you know, no commitments. It's not committed to the variegation. The only thing it does really well is growing really fast. It started to push out a bunch of peduncles for me, had me all in a frenzy, had me all excited and, you know, eager to see some blooms. And then it did nothing. Very thirsty, very fast growing. It lives in a combination, I think, of just like pond and leca. I think what it could be is that my wicks are too short, so it's not able to access the water as quickly as it would like. My Hoya carnosa wilbur graves China, another Hoya that I'm trying to get to bloom. As soon as I took the plant out from under my grow lights and I put it into natural light, it pushed out a peduncle. I don't want to say it's really small, but it's not mature yet. It's still a little ways away from being anywhere near being ready to bloom, but that is just a positive step. It's just absolutely stunning. A lot of you may have found me because of this plant, because there was a time I just always featured this plant. It's just so beautiful, so gorgeous, glossy, beautiful leaves. If you ever get a wilbur graves, make sure that you get one with really good variegation, like nice splash on it. It'll quickly turn silver for you. So gorgeous, so gorgeous. Another plant on this shelf is my Hoya carnosa freckle splash, a plant you've seen recently if you watched my last video. I think the video before this one. Gorgeous. I won't say too much since you saw it recently. It's a carnosa. It's nice that it has these really big leaves. So when you get that nice big splash on it, you're getting like huge splashy leaves. Absolutely gorgeous. For a long time, it used to be one of my favorite Hoya in my collection, but recently it started pushing out a lot more of the greener, non-splashy leaves. And so I didn't want to cut it off because, you know, I didn't want to lose the splashy leaves that came out after. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just going to leave it and see if the genetics kicks back in and the splash comes back on some of the leaves. Super bushy, love this plant. And again, I recently put it into the south window to see if I can get a peduncle, and I did. As to where the peduncle is, I can't find it. It is literally a jungle in the back of the plant. If you have mature Hoya, try putting them in direct light. Acclimate them, of course, but they could push peduncles, they could bloom for you. Here's a plant that I recently repotted. So I think this is the first time you're seeing this plant since I repotted it. Hoya tequila sunrise. Love this plant. When this plant sun stresses for you, the sun stressing is beautiful. This very burgundy red color. Oh my goodness, it's such a gorgeous plant. Really, really root bound recently. So I repotted it, but I think before I repotted it, it pushed this peduncle and bloomed. Not one of my fastest growing Hoya. I believe this Hoya can be faster, but for some reason it doesn't grow quickly for me. I think I've seen Kevin's own from Hakuna La Planta. I've seen his sunrise, and his sunrise is just incredibly fast. At least that's what it looks like to me, but mine is not. So not quite sure why. Could just be conditions, could be care, could be the plant itself, but that's okay. It seems to be doing decent. Blooms, I'll take it. Another one of my Hoya, krohniana super silver. This one is growing in my chunky aeroid mix. It's still growing new leaves and then dropping them randomly, so I'm still not entirely sure. These weren't quite here before, so it's not bad. It's just not great. This is going to be part of my ongoing experiment to see which medium does it best. Welcome to my bathroom. Over here I have my two Hoya carnosas. It's so funny, just recently a viewer messaged and said, do you even have a carnosa crimson queen? Probably they felt that I don't talk about my crimson queen very often, and because they're sort of in a tricky spot hanging over my tub, so they're a little hard to access. This is my carnosa crimson queen. We know it's a queen because the variegation is on the outside. Although I do have some elbow leaves here. That's nice, and the elbow leaves do last a pretty long time. They eventually do start falling off, but they last for much longer than one would think. So I have them here hanging off of this ladder I have hanging at the top. I have so many videos talking about this setup, so be sure to check out some of my older videos. You'll get to see more in depth. But yeah, that's this guy growing in south windows, and the leaves that face the window definitely have a lot more elbow to them than the others. And right next to my crimson queen is my crimson princess. Beautiful. I love her so much. She's such a lovely plant. Definitely a lot trickier than my Crimson Queen. More fulfilling, I think. She has these beautiful leaves that unstress nice and give you that nice pink color. Definitely not as fast growing as my Crimson Queen. She likes having lots and lots and lots of light. So she gets light from this south window in front of me and then this west window behind me here. Yeah, and so she's doing pretty well. I just keep them both hung up here and they're pretty happy. Okay, so here's the last two Hoya in my collection for today's video. Here we have the Hoya latifolia Sarawak. This for a long time was one of my favorite Hoya because I just adored the gigantic leaves. Like, it's also called the dinner plate Hoya because of this. The leaves are so big, they resemble plates. I've had this for a long time, I think over a year now, maybe a year and a half. I got this off Facebook Marketplace from a local seller. It just had about 2 leaves when I got it. And it has come a long way since then. It used to grow really, really fast, but recently it slowed down in its growth. And I believe it was because it was terribly root bound and I had it in a situation where it wasn't getting a lot of air circulation. It was in a cabinet and I don't think it liked being in a cabinet. I don't think this plant needs high humidity. Because it didn't seem to like it when it had higher humidity. So I repotted it and it actually, these leaves started coming out before it got repotted. So you can actually tell because look at how much smaller these leaves are compared to some of the older leaves, right? You can see when it started running out of space and I started getting smaller leaves. I love it. And then the last Hoya of today's Hoya tour, which is also on the same shelf. And this is my Hoya obovata Splash. I feel like I'm always saying this, like one of my favorite Hoya, but my Hoyas, they go through phases where that's my favorite Hoya. No, that's my favorite Hoya. No, that's my favorite Hoya. Like, because I just love the splashing on the leaves. And when it gets a lot of light, it gives this very light purple sun stressing. It's not my favorite, the sun stressing, but it's nice to see it try, you know? I grew this plant from literally one leaf. If you've seen my fast Hoya video or how to grow your Hoya faster, you've seen this plant because I was talking about the difference in growth between this one and my Hoya obovata that's growing not in a self-watering pot. I should say that again. That's not growing in a self-watering pot. But anyways, I have propagated this plant so many times. All I do is take a cutting and just stick it back in. Because of the adventitious roots, it propagates super easily. And yeah, it's growing in just a mix I put together in a self-watering pot. I repotted it recently, so I know it's going to take a little time to adjust. But since then, it's starting to push out a little bit of new growth here. And I'm excited because I did chop it here to trigger some more variegation because it was starting to give me all green leaves, non-splashy leaves. So that's this one here. Growing under a Barina light. It's only one light here, but I'm thinking of adding another one. Possibly when summer starts winding down, I'm gonna add another one under here. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by giving the video a thumbs up. If you watched all the way to the end, drop the pink flower emoji down in the comment section down below so I know you were here with me all the way to the end. Thanks again for watching and I will see you in the next one.